What's happening, people? Back with another reaction, back with some more Joni Mitchell, and we're returning for the final track on her 1969 album Clouds. Thank you as always to Nikola. In the moment, I don't remember what album is next, but I'm looking forward to whatever the next chapter in this journey is. But yes, the final tune on Clouds is Both Sides, Now. So I'm intrigued by multiple aspects of this title, as simple as it is. Number one, by saying both, or by using that word, you're indicating that there are two sides and no more, because otherwise the word both wouldn't apply. If it were three sides, then you could say the majority of sides or most sides, but both would not refer to all facets or indeed all sides present. And then the use of the word now is interesting because it suggests a timeline, a chronology, and perhaps a previous state where both sides were not relevant or were not related to whatever perspective is at hand, and perhaps suggesting or even directly referring to a future state of affairs. I would say, in regard to the word both, it could be indicative of the human predilection to see dichotomies, good and evil, light and dark, strong and weak, which perhaps says as much about the human propensity for categorization and classification, and in many, if not most such cases, it's at least arguable that all phenomena or data does not so easily fit into diametrically opposed categories, but it speaks to our desire to place things into understandable groupings that perhaps allow for didactic utility. I feel like I'm getting pretentious here. I will stop talking. I will just say the first part of the song makes me wonder what different sides or facets are at play, and the use of the word now makes me wonder about a longer timeline. I'll try to catch what I can as I have come to know. Joni's narratives and scene painting excuse me, is often very complicated or multi-sectional, so I may not be able to catch everything, but I'm looking forward to trying. Let's give it a listen. Excuse me. This is Joni Mitchell. The track is Both Sides Now, and it's the final tune on her 1969 album Clouds.
Of angel hair and ice cream castles in the air and feather canyons everywhere. I've looked at clouds that way, but now they only block the sun. They rain and snow on everyone. So many things I would have done, but clouds got in my way. I've looked at clouds from both sides now, from up and down, and still somehow it's cloud illusions I recall. I really don't know clouds. Moons and Junes and Ferris wheels, the dizzy dancing way you feel as every fairy tale comes real. I've looked at love that way, but now it's just another show. You leave 'em laughing when you go, and if you care, don't let them know. Don't give yourself away. I've looked at love from both sides now, from give and take, and still somehow it's love's illusions say I love you right out loud. Dreams and schemes and circus crowds, I looked at life that way. But now old friends are acting strange. They shake their heads, they say I've changed. Well, something's lost, but something's gained in living every day. I've looked at life from both sides now, then win and lose, and still somehow it's life's illusions I recall. I really don't know life at all. I've looked at life from both sides now, and up and down, and still somehow it's life's illusions I recall. I really don't know life at all.
Masterful guitar poetry, a perfect album ending tune, and maybe not directly, but more or less the title track of the album. I mean, honestly, that's instantly one of my favorites from her, and I feel like some of my pedantic description at the beginning of the video was perhaps relevant, because I think she is making the point that whether you're talking the natural environment, the clouds in the sky, and looking at them from above and below and seeing them over the course of years, or if you're talking about love and the give and take that it requires or that it constitutes, and seeing it from different angles and, you know, maybe having different intensities of it, or life itself, the experiences and the relationships over time, over a long arc that change, or the perception that you've changed, whatever you're talking about on those different scales, they are not so easily understandable, and they don't always fit into simple categories where we try to say that, oh, we got this classified, we know what this is, like this is what a cloud is, and this is what love is, and this is what it means to be alive, this is what it means to have a life, or to have friends, or to be a social creature over a long timeline. All of these things, by the time one comes to die, perhaps you realize how much there is to know and how much you don't know. Meaning, you know, sometimes you start learning about a subject, and then you learn a little more and you feel like, wow, like I really know a lot about this. And then you learn a little more and it's like, oh wait, hold on, there's like a whole other level of this. And now I've learned enough to know how much there could be known about this. And in fact, I really don't have a clear, you know, understanding in the way that I thought I did oh so recently ago. So yes, I love how she describes something that's part of the natural environment. She describes a feeling, a psycho-emotional experience, that of being in love, and then the very comprehensive nature of being alive, of being a living being, a biological being. And her assessment is that, you know, the wisest perspective on these things is that, you know, she really doesn't know what, she really can't characterize them. She really doesn't know what they are in any, you know, comprehensive or complete sense. And that, I suppose, as I see it certainly, and, you know, I hope to live much longer, but I've lived long enough to know that the convictions and clarity that perhaps characterize certain aspects of my intellectual or mental life in my 20s is now less clear, or I'm aware of how much there is beyond what I understood at that point in my life. And so again, whether you're talking about music or whether you're talking about emotions or social interactions or anthropology more broadly, in my mid 40s, I now have a sense that, wow, like these things can be bedeviling and confusing and just hard to pin down, and they elude or exceed our simple, neat, and tidy categories that we often try to put things in. Now, maybe there's some personal narratives here, maybe there's some reference points in Joni's own life, and I think there's even some bits there where she's talking about, you leave them laughing and you don't reveal too much about yourself, and it maybe suggests that her life as a musician, as an entertainer, is reflected in some of the lines that may not be relevant to humans more broadly or people who, work in other occupations. But it does seem like even if those lines do relate to, what it means to, be of interest in the musical or singer or entertainer world, I think there's a lot of subject matter here that most humans, especially upon longer term reflection, can appreciate, understand, and likely see in a similar manner. So, a brilliant tune thematically. Of course, her voice is nice and soothing and lovely. She's not bellowing or belting down the house. She's not particularly, I suppose, soft or, breathy in her delivery. It's just kind of in her, what's the right word? Her compelling, typical vocal delivery, which I feel like typical could be seen in a, more, like a less flattering light. But I mean, this is what I've come to expect from her voice, and I think she delivers here exactly as it needs to be. And the guitar work, again, not particularly forte, though there are a couple chords where it feels like, she's really hitting it with a bit of energy. But yes, it's just the perfect accompaniment for me to hear and think about the lyrics. So top track, absolutely enjoyed it. Great end to the record, and what a record overall. And again, not knowing anything maybe more than her name going into this deep dive, over the course of 2 albums, I've already become a big fan, so I'm looking forward to the next step. Thank you again to Nikola, as well as to Mark and a few others who've commented on a number of the tracks along the way. I'm looking forward to the next step. Let me know what you think of this, and I will see you next time. Peace.